Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Shadowverse. Today is Friday, June the 11th. Why does that sound so different? Yeah, that's weird. That does sound funny. Sounds a little bit deeper. Maybe that's because I haven't actually been doing any recording over this past couple of days and I've been able to have an unprecedented amount of time to let my voice actually heal instead of constantly nearly every day recording pre-recorded footage on top of live streaming for 3 or 4 hours. Either that or my microphone is just a little at a different angle or something. I have been having certainly some issues with my computer seemingly running out of RAM as I'm opening up more and more tabs working on the RetroPie GPI case setup, just rebuilding a RetroPie setup. I spent a regrettably large amount of time trying to diagnose an audio issue I thought it was having in which Emulation Station was not playing audio, and I thought it was because of the GPI case and the way that does different basically device drivers. It's not really device drivers by most people's understanding, but it's the closest thing. No, it turns out what I was doing is I was just by default installing a theme, and the theme didn't have a sound associated with scrolling. So I was scrolling around in the menu of Emulation Station, and when I first installed it, it would work because it would have the default theme that did have the sound effect. And then as soon as I installed the other theme, which works a little bit better because it's a little bit lower resolution, the GPI case is 320 by 240, which is fine because like Game Boy Advance screens are like 320 by 224. So like anything that a Raspberry Pi Zero can handle also is at that resolution. So yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to chase down that bug. It's done now. Now I'm working on other things. I've found a way, I think, to make it play music. The problem particularly with that is there are a lot of people who've made scripts to have it play music in the background of the menu, which is fine. If that's what you want it to do, is just to have music playing in the background while you're browsing the menu, works perfectly. Not what I'm looking for, though. I'm looking for, hey, this thing is a portable device. Why can't it act as an MP3 player? Which is true and should be the question any portable device ever asks. Is like, this is a portable device. It has a decent amount of storage. Why is it not an MP3 player also? Why is it not a video player? And also, I mean, it's not going to be playing 4K video or anything. It's going to be playing pretty bad 640 by 480, maybe 720p video downscaled. So not for your precious collection of videos. Those still would be better suited as being on a thumb drive more than anything. It is easier to do that than it is to even try and like set up a universal plug and play streaming service. Maybe this new interconnected setup, what is it called, Matter, that they're working on. I guess we're playing Runecraft today. Matter is this new thing that Google and Amazon and lots of people are going to work together, Samsung Smart Things, to make more smart devices work together better. This song and dance has been said before, but there is at least something to that. Is this Runecraft? This is the problem with changing everything. Yeah, I think this is Runecraft. Let's see. Yeah, it is. Okay. I changed all the characters. So yeah, it's kind of surprising and shocking that RetroPie doesn't have it set up to be able to do that anyways. I mean, it's simple code. Like, I'm basically configuring a couple of configuration files, telling it to handle one more folder, and just treat the folder like it's a folder full of ROMs, except for this time, instead of it being ROMs of old games to emulate, it's just MP3 files. That's all that really needs. Now, you'll have to make, you have to do some Linux Kung Fu, command line Kung Fu, as it were, to do it well. One, you're going to want to be able to stop the audio, which is going to be hard, because with a gamepad controller, there's not going to be any real interface there. In fact, there's no interface. So you're going to have a command to make it run in the background, and then you're going to have another command to use the kill all code to the kill all command to stop the process from running in the background. Easy enough to do. I also have been making tweaks to the splash screen at the beginning and the end and the shutdown commands, just to speed it up, but also do it a little bit safer. Like the default shutdown command has it reset. There's no reason to use the reset command. You should be using the shutdown command. It's basically the same anyways, but at least in this scenario, it's not usually the same. Let's go ahead and do this and this, and attack here. But yeah, I'm making little tweaks, getting rid of things. I was trying to get Kodi installed, which would be the default music player, and that probably would work fine with a Raspberry Pi 3 or 2 or even 1. Anything that you can plug a USB controller into, but with the GPIO case, there's no connection to any USB, which also highlights any kind of pointless factor in that it has USB ROM service, I think, installed by default, and there's no reason for that to be installed, because there's no scenario where you would ever plug in a USB full of ROMs and it would move the files over. That is even with the newest version of RetroPie. Still an issue is that they need to move a lot more things into the home folder and out of the options folder, the OPT folder, and a few things out of the etc folder on the Linux setup, because there's just no reason for them to be so spread apart. And the home folder is where the ROMs are supposed to be, so that should be in a third partition on an micro SD card. Since there's already a boot partition and a system partition, there should be a third home partition. This is fairly standard proselytizing as far as Linux, is that you should probably separate your home folder out from the rest of it. But instead what they do is they install it by default, RetroPie, and then the first time it boots, it expands into the rest of the remaining space, and takes it up and puts it as a Linux partition. Well, the problem there is a lot of people are not going to be Linux literate, and Windows does not just load a Linux partition by default. So, like, you basically have to go install software to be able to even look at the files to put the ROMs in. That's why the USB ROM service exists in the first place. Whereas it would make a lot more sense for it just to be an exFAT file partition specifically for the home folder, or specifically for the ROMs folder. But the home folder pretty much is just ROMs and nothing else. And then there's debates about, like, I think where a lot of their other files are. A lot of things are in a lot of different places. I've definitely been going in circles, looking around, going, hey, is this in the options folder? Is this in the library folder? Some of it is in the library folder, and I don't even know why that would be the case. But there are things that are just all over the place. So yeah, there's definitely some code cleanup that could happen. I think there is also just generally, there was a lot of buzz around the Raspberry Pi and RetroPie, and I think that buzz was an initial burst, and now there's not as much buzz or development around it. The thing is, they can't really add any more emulators. Like, the next big step to get enthusiasm around it would be to say that they now support the next thing after the Nintendo 64, which would be the GameCube Wii emulator, or they support something else that would be as interesting as that, and I don't think there really is anything that's as interesting as that. So yeah, I think they probably are in a holding mode. I would love to see them be able to support pinball. Certainly that would be my passion. And I suppose on Windows, I kind of now know, since I went down this rabbit hole and learned how to get it to play music, I kind of know how to set up Emulation Station on Windows to run other things. So I could definitely integrate Visual Pinball or anything else of any real interest. See if that works. And then I don't know what I'm trying to do, frankly. Like, I can do 16 damage to anybody that gets played, which is fine, but I don't know if that saves me or lets me win. So yeah, is there anything else I've been doing working on the RetroPie, since that's the only thing I've been doing? Lying in bed, trying to keep my foot from being used so that it heals as much as possible. But yeah, even this probably was a very slight torn ligament or strained ligament, maybe not even torn, but better safe than sorry.
Lightning storm.
cost more than 5 to play? That costs more than 5 to play? Did that cost more than 5 to play? Nope.
I'll design a brighter future for everyone.
Blessed is the promised day.
So yeah,
Worlds crumble before my magic bends reality.
the only other thing I guess I could talk about is that the summer video game presentation Summer Fest happened, and I started watching it, or watched most of it, with some random live streamer covering it, and he was just downright awful. Then I also kind of barely paying attention, watched it a second time with Giant Bomb. Both of the times I think I got bored probably 35 minutes in, and probably missed a lot of visuals and a lot of announcements, but it didn't seem like there was too much there. There seemed to be a very notable decision to play what was definitely a pre-recorded footage right after the first segment, probably to build in a buffer, so that there wouldn't be any delays or problems later.
This isn't your run-of-the-mill spell.
Don't give up.
Yeah, that's basically what I would think. And then there was a lot of focus, I think, on music during the Summer Game Fest also. The good news is that with this new install of RetroPie and the newer version, it seems to have just either reset settings or installed a newer version of the emulator. So, like, it was running very bad trying to play the Game Boy Advance version of Link's Awakening. Now it's running perfectly. It was having audio glitching because it was running so bad. That's not shown its face at all. Everything's working. The problem with any project like this, though, is you're basically performing surgery in it, and you're gonna slip with the needle, as it were, even if you don't intend to. And maybe you can put it all back and it won't matter. Maybe you can put it back even better than the way it was originally, but there is also just a risk that you're going to mess things up and have to start all over again, and that is a high danger. Like, and when you're even when you're making progress working on projects like this, it always has to be evaluated, and it always kind of feels like, was this even really necessary? I mean, it was a good learning experience, or it has been a good learning experience so far, but did I really need to upgrade anything? Or could I have just loaded from a backup and left it alone? There was kind of a major version change in Linux that
The world called.
can be a good reason, certainly, to have installed the newest version. And honestly, upgrades are not particularly guaranteed to work, so there's a lot of reason around that too. But yeah, not too much really has changed. It's all nothing surface level for sure, and unless the Raspberry Pi comes out with a new chipset that can do something a lot more powerful, you can't really go in any new direction with it. It should just get cheaper. The Raspberry Pi 4 in particular is still particularly expensive. It's still weird. They came out with a new power over Ethernet hat, and it seems like that is actually using 2 watts more than the previous one for the, when in standby mode, which 2 watts is a lot when you're trying to make a device that's supposed to be not using that much power. Like, the double HDMI outputs are only useful in one scenario and not useful in a lot of other scenarios. So yeah, I had given some thought to making a karaoke machine, so a Raspberry Pi 4 would make sense there. And I guess if one's on sale during Prime Day sale, which I'm also been thinking about that and setting that up, I guess I'd grab one. But I also probably have a few too many Raspberry Pis and not enough justification really to own them.
All to find a brighter future for
But yeah.
everyone.
And see, if you were gonna make a Game Boy-like device, now you would definitely use the compute module. It would make a lot more sense to use the compute module in something like that. Or you would get the better case that uses a Raspberry Pi 4 or 3, a main unit, instead of the Raspberry Pi 1, which is just far too wimpy. Let's see. Guess what we're trying to do here is probably that, to just wear down the opponent with one hit here, one hit there, one hit here.
The uncharted desert awaits.
I still desperately need to work on my server, and maybe I'll find something. Obviously, though, I'm not really itching to get back to Left 4 Dead.
Bang, bang.
And I need to do more scheduling. Every weekend needs to be scheduling, so I've been terrible at that. YouTube did come out and say there was a newer, easier way to protect videos from being re-uploaded with copyright claims. So apparently, up until this point, if you copyright claim / struck someone's video, they could either use a different account or just upload the same video, which I'm sure this will probably not help a lot of people, but now you can just straight up prevent videos that are exact copies from being uploaded. Honestly, that seems like that was already a case on YouTube, as far as you shouldn't have been able to upload a video that had like the exact hashtag, the exact hash of another video anyways. Like there isn't a single scenario I can think of where any kind of organization should be allowed to upload 2 or 3 copies of the exact same file. And I'm sure it's doing something more than just a basic hash check. It's probably doing major hash checks every 15 seconds, every 5 seconds, every 5 frames maybe. Yeah, YouTube doesn't really benefit from having duplicate videos, even if their servers would usually have some kind of deduplication system to them. Probably isn't that efficient. Okay,
The world called.
I
And I
guess,
Judgment
like,
will
I
rain
also am
down
still
upon you.
slowly turning down my internet speed. Like, either that, or I'm gonna have to have it shut down and then shut off and turn on, like every 24 hours or something. That might be what needs to happen too. The good news on the router is that it would be incredibly expensive, considering how I just bought a replacement of the router. That maybe I didn't even need to buy the replacement of my old router with the exact same model. I do now have a different model from a different company in mind, which is newer. But ideally, I'd like to see a second generation of Wi-Fi 6 routers come out, second or third generation, before I would potentially buy a new one. And I definitely don't want to develop a habit of buying new routers. But yeah, I think it's mostly working now. Is there anything else to talk about? I mean, it really is just the same thing over and over again. It's like, what are you doing instead of streaming, instead of making footage today? Or what am I doing because of my insomnia? Or what am I doing with my router that's been driving me up the wall for 6 months plus? Guess we'll have to. Alright, well then let's cover the news. I did switch over, I think, to a new news source. So the new news source may not be particularly enough. But yeah, I went through like 4 or 5 different new video game news sources, and part of the problem certainly is with E3 just around the corner. There is a decent chance that nothing will be said, or there is nothing to say, because there won't be much video game news anyways. Here we have a game that's in Asian letters, which looks like it is a visual novel, although it's tagged as a word game, which I don't know how I get to that. It looks like it's probably a Chinese game. It's free, Chinese only. So, yeah. Do this.
That looks so sweet, you'll get cavities.
And then attack there, I guess. See, Gamma Sutra has a job listing. Insomniac Games is hiring a concept artist in Burbank, California. Let's need to build up some steam.
Neither heaven nor earth shall be your refuge.
See, Gamma Sutra has a feature here, evaluating game mechanics for depth. If you're interested in that, this is 2010 old article. News story from Gamma Sutra. Microsoft CEO says the company is all in on gaming and wants to democratize play. I feel like this has been the standing statement from Satya Nadella for a long time now. So I don't think that's really a new statement. Let's see.
How could you not understand?
Let's do
This
this.
isn't your run-of-the-mill spell.
Satya Nadella does definitely feel like he's more hands-off as far as the gaming division, but the gaming division seems to work fine that way. Let's see. Gemetsu has the King of Fighters 15 Luong trailer and screenshots, which Luong's got an interesting Chinese dress style outfit showing, I guess, center window cleavage. As best as you would describe it.
A bear a day keeps the doctor away.
Looking at this and not remembering what the other King of Fighters games look like, this feels like this new King of Fighters game is definitely more fluid and polished than some of the older versions, which probably would be true for any fighting game. Alright. Play that for one, certainly. And then draw a card for 6. Deal 1 damage. Destroy all fall arrows that cost 5 or more. Oops. Well, I see the trick there. Gametsu has Monarch debut trailer, details and screenshots, and an English localization confirmation. Which Monarch was a game we had heard a little bit about.
Look to the zenith. For there, I will rise.
One of the things that the minimal scroll bar plugin that I have on Chrome seems to do is for a lot of websites it seems to kind of make it impossible to work, or it makes it sluggish, so you have to, I'm having to whitelist more places than what I thought I would have had to. I also found out on my cell phone that like having closed captions on with YouTube Advanced seems to cause a bit of trouble. Better slow down. See, Gametsu says Super Zangura for PS4 and PS Vita launches June 24th in Japan. It's interesting to see things coming out for Vita and PS4, but not PS5. This was on the Switch before. Oh, I did have a brief moment where I was looking at the number of multiplayer games for the Switch, local multiplayer games, and 3 or 4 multiplayer games. There's a lot less than you would think. Like, I thought there would have been a bit more of a collection there. Although, if I really thought about it, I wouldn't be surprised if there's actually just a lot fewer good Switch games in general. So, yeah, there's always that desire to have 3 or 4 kids playing the Switch at the same time, but best case scenario, you're going to have a couple of games that have good co-op and barely good co-op, and then it's just going to be either you end up buying a Switch Lite, or you end up convincing your kids to share, whichever is cheaper in the short run. Which, in a funny way, kind of makes an argument for buying a Xbox One S, a Switch, and a PlayStation 4, and then you have 3 different consoles on 3 different TVs. Now, of course, this is all extremely expensive suggestion that you really can't get around, because you'd be buying 3 consoles, 3 different styles of games. It would be a hassle, to say the least. And it's not much better on Steam. Like, local multiplayer is the second thought, certainly on PC and Steam too. The latest version of The Binding of Isaac, apparently the last version of Binding of Isaac, until at some point they make a Binding of Isaac 2, is just now getting co-op, or just now has co-op, whereas that potentially could have been in the game a long time earlier. Just go ahead and evolve this and see if that saves us.
I am beyond prophecy.
Finish the job.
Yeah, Mario Party, Mario Kart, new Super Mario Brothers U, I think has 4-player co-op, or at least some mode of that. Rocket League, I think, maybe has 2-player co-op, maybe not even that. The split screen is the big issue there.
I'll open the way. You follow
This is my
behind.
fate after all.
And it's not like the Switch is become so cheap that you could end up buying 2 or 3 of them. That's really what they'd want you to do is buy them, buy a whole bunch of them.
Spell looks so sweet, you'll get cavities.
Yeah. And I'm still in a weird position where if I actually do spend any time playing any Nintendo games, that's just time I'd be playing for myself. And while I enjoyed that for about 20 minutes or so, it eventually pushed me. It very quickly pushed me to just working on the Linux and the setup of the RetroPie setup and doing computer nerd stuff instead of playing video game stuff. Which, yeah. I'm still also 3 trade paperbacks away from finishing all the comic books I have, and I'd like to be done with that. Alright. If I do this, could I do this? No, I don't want to do that. I want to do this.
Calculations set. Ready to summon. This is how
So
you
I can
cast.
hit that.
Well, on to the next project.
So I can hit that. Which doesn't matter because I'm going to lose anyways. Yeah, we have a game on Steam called Mad Wild Fairy Tale, which looks to me like it is just a Diablo clone. Doesn't look terrible. Early access $19.99, English full audio. I'll put that on the fall list. Let's see. Here's a Variety article. I guess I probably need to clean up Variety. A Far Cry anime series is set at Netflix, and the streamer also has picked up Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix, which is video game related to the Blood Dragon Far Cry thing. So 2 more quote-unquote animes from Netflix. But which at a certain point, if Netflix starts to feel like 50% of all its new content is anime, it's going to potentially scare off some potential new audience or potential current audience, and probably not gain much of a newer audience, because what they're offering as far as new anime things, or things they're calling anime, is are not the animes that old anime fans or new anime fans would want. That they really aren't getting the contracts to bring over things that are ending up in the hands of Crunchyroll or Funimation instead. I think Amazon owns Crunchyroll, so as far as video games being turned into TV shows, animes, live action or otherwise, they're still rolling about 50-50 success ratio on that. Here, Gamma Sutra has an article. Roblox has been hit with a $200 million lawsuit for allegedly using music without permission. This is the NMPA. From using music from Ariana Grande, Imagine Dragons, Ed Sheeran, and Rolling Stones. So I think this is probably one of those MPAA, we want to destroy you lawsuits, where it's possible, very possible, that that users made their own levels and put music into them, and they are now trying to sue Roblox in general instead of potentially claiming the end users. I suppose it would come down to, if you put music in a level, can you share the level with the music? Does it really matter? This is just anytime you see a music industry, the music industry do something like this, it's just a reminder that the music industry is on the verge of dying. Let's see, Gamatsu has Demon Slayer with more characters. Yep. Apparently there is this whole spin-off part of Demon Slayer where the characters are the same character designs and basically the same people but set in the future instead of the like feudal past, or set in present time instead of the feudal past. A smartphone game called Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade has been announced for iOS and Android. It's an RPG. It's kind of funny that there would be any announcements as far as Japanese games right now around E3. Although I guess if there ever was a time in history in which the Japanese game developers felt like they might be able to destroy or gain dominance of some sort over E3, I guess this would be the year to do it. And I don't know how much of that wouldn't be just specific slights against Sony with no real concern about any of the other potential AAA game developers out there, or game publishers out there. Gamatsu says the Frostpunk developer 11-Bit Studios teases a new game to be announced on August 12th, which is Blood on the Snow, a Bloody Hammer on Snow, which I wonder if this is some kind of reference to Blood on the Sand. The problem here is that we are going right into the hype nonsense all over again, when there's been a year or two where nothing has come out, nothing has been delivered at all. You can see there's oil, and then here you can see there's a bloody back. Alright. Is there anybody else I could play as far as a deck? We got an amulets and we got a spells deck. And we don't have daily quests to play amulets or spells or anything like that, ever. A game called Yoni launches August 19th in the West. Let's see.
The world called, and
You Oni. I don't know what the
This
U
one's
part
for
of
my
that would be,
family.
but Oni would be demon. So one would assume that Yoni has something to do with a demon. Yep. It looks like a runaway hide. Japanese horror game in a school. Part of the problem with a game like this, as far as that idea, is Japanese schools compared to even Western schools are even less distinct. So, yeah, they're not as creepy or as different as you would with a Western school. The hallways all look the same. The classrooms all look the same. Yeah, someone's mowing outside. Just wanted to make sure my computer wasn't overheating or something crazy. Start this.
Chaotic good.
Gamatsu has Tsukuhime, a piece of blue glass moon, second trailer and limited edition box art. This visual novel seems to be
I walked the edge.
way more popular than than I would think. Of course, this could also just be hype. Again, one of the HoloLive VTubers was announced as graduating, as in that she's gotten too old / she's been fired. And they pretend like it's graduating, but it's not really graduating, because you're not really graduating to go on and do newer, bigger, and better things. You're being kicked to the curb. And it seems kind of weird that VTubers in particular would ever graduate, which is that Japanese phrase. Like, wasn't the idea of having VTubers in the first place the idea that you would potentially
Embrace your vast potential.
never have to replace them?
Now
You could just replace the puppeteer or the voice actor.
Opportunities abound.
But apparently that didn't work out. Let's see, Gamatsu has Monarch coming to the West in early 2022 for PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC.
Vile dragon, repent your wicked
I
deeds.
think PC
Let me
is
divine tomorrow's
quickly becoming the second choice for kids. Like, if you wanted to get them into gaming now, I still think you probably want to get them the Nintendo Classics and all of that. There's just so much history there. But after that point, I think you are
The earth rains
done.
from above.
And better off just moving to PC. Let's see.
The uncharted desert awaits.
The ordained hour has arrived.
The earth will trample earth in assault.
Farewell,
I would say also,
dragon.
if I was to vaguely guess, the pandemic has probably increased the value of a Nintendo Switch a lot. Like, or any video game console, really. Like, there's been a considerable amount of extra free time with nothing to do, and this summer for the West is not likely to be a cool one, so I think there's a high chance of there's a high chance of nothing happening there during the summer.
The uncharted desert awaits.
See, and you only want one of these on the field.
A galaxy of gems tumbles and twirls.
See, Gamatsu has the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart launch trailer, which you can check that out, I guess, if you're interested.
Adieu.
From what I've heard, Rift Apart is very good. See, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC Trunks the Warrior of Hope has a launch trailer. I would have thought Trunks would have already been in
Divine tomorrow's
Kakarot or any game. You would have wanted to been quicker about that. I guess at this point, though, there's probably not a huge reason to hype up Trunks as a character. You can just take your time and do it slowly. This.
Blessed is the promised day.
Did I predict wrong?
Let's see. Gamatsu has Beast of Marvella Island launching June 12th for Switch and PC, soon after for PS4 and Xbox One. There really is a thought, though, about... Did not mean to go full screen.
Scorching as black as these skies.
There is a real thought about
Won't be long now.
what your digital collection would be from
world?
the Switch,
Then come and get it.
because they really have failed to improve any kind of online service. Like, who legitimately believes that if a Switch 2 came out today, that you wouldn't be asked to buy every single game once again that they're selling, and there would be like no upgrade path, or the best upgrade path you would have is that you could take a Switch cartridge and put it in this theoretical Switch 2.
Embrace your
Um,
vast potential.
Gotta play this, but this
Embrace
is
your
not gonna
vast
work.
potential.
This is not gonna work.
Opportunities abound.
Yep. This never works.
Never be content.
The path ends here.
Let's see. A game called Greek Memories of Azure launches August 17th for the PS5, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. One of the problems, I'll say, when I am working on a project and am just letting YouTube decide what it's going to play for me, is that it often will pick random videos that have no connection. And a lot of times I'll watch a video and then it will immediately try and make me watch some other style video from another creator that I just don't like at all. And apparently that creator has done such great search engine optimization that you can't even see more of the creator you just watched. Instead, you end up always getting shifted away to another content creator. I think probably that is particularly noticeable when the first creator has effectively been shadow banned by YouTube in a sense, and their videos are not showing up in recommendations.
The world called, and I
Let's see, Hot Wheels Unleashed skate park trailer and screenshots. I would like to see Hot Wheels Unleashed succeed, but it also is fairly crazy to get super hyped here. And basically it's a Hot Wheels track in a skate park, which, yeah, that's not really much. There's a lot of little fans blowing the cars around. I wouldn't have really thought about that. A first-person psychological horror game, Ikai, has been announced for PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. New title draws inspiration from Japanese folklore. We've seen this one before. That being said, it's often not done particularly well. So, I think part of the problem is that Japanese folklore is mostly just very short stories, and there hasn't been a long development of Japanese folklore, or a great integration of it. Let's see, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania has been rated for the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and PC in Brazil, so seems like we might be getting Super Monkey Ball. Last one was in 2019, Banana Blitz HD. Maybe they're taking the Mania title from Sonic Mania and taking that same idea. I think what we'll end up doing as far as the Summer Games Fest is we'll talk about those, and then that will probably mean that there's a whole bunch of redundant tabs that'll open where it's the exact same sentence or the exact same statement.
A glimpse into the future is only the beginning.
So, Gematsu has 2K Games and Gearbox Software, so still 2K and Gearbox, not Embracer Group, really, have announced Tiny Tina's Wonderlands for the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. It is pretty much what you would expect, I think, so far as what we've been shown. It seems like there is a effort here to have celebrities voice these characters, and so unless they did the voice acting in the pandemic, you have like Wanda Sykes, which honestly she doesn't get that much work, and Andy Samberg, he was getting Brooklyn Nine-Nine work, and then Will Arnett, he does voice work mostly these days too. So it's a bunch of celebrities being the characters. It gives a way in which new characters can be added to the Borderlands universe, while this isn't actually a Borderlands game, in the sense that this is going to be a high fantasy game set in its own world that isn't going to affect the Borderlands universe, but it is going to have Tiny Tina in it. So then at a certain point you're kind of making the Nintendo argument that Mario and Bowser are all just actors. It's still gun looter shooter though, and I think that's probably the only thing that Gearbox is good at, and I think at a certain point you're just demanding here to have two masters. And yeah, they're bringing in Butt Stallion again as that joke. I think as a DLC, this concept was really good. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that the DLC in which the Borderlands characters were playing here's what Tiny Tina looks like now. She's slowly growing older, but she's staying still as a teenager. I think the second they bring Tiny Tina into being 16, 17, or 18, they kill that character. I think they're in danger of that even now, because half of the gimmick around Tiny Tina was that she was a psychopath who was particularly young, whereas all the other psychopaths in the Borderlands world were older. But yeah, remember the DLC of in which of Borderlands 2 that was like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands also was dealing with the death of a main character, which that was a stupid decision anyways. I guess Tiny Tina's Wonderlands might help them stay off the idea of needing to make a Borderlands 4 as quick as they probably should make a Borderlands 4. At a certain point, I think they're still probably very closer to needing to release a Borderlands 4 than they'd like to be, because they just don't have anything else that they can do. And maybe Embracer Group doesn't really care about that, but I think 2K probably cares about that. It's a little surprising that this wouldn't just be a shopped out to a different company 2K property, and I wouldn't be surprised if secretly this really is what it is. But yeah, the looter shooter idea, it feels weird there. I feel like it probably should have gone swords and shields. Swords, shields, magic still, but bows and arrows instead of shooting guns. It not being in the Borderlands universe yet having the Borderlands characters is weird too, because does that mean we're going to see Mach 1 guns, or are we going to see a whole new collection of new types of manufacturers of new types of guns, or is it going to do a completely different kind of concept? I wouldn't be upset if it was much more of a scripted experience, where instead of getting random guns that are just usually slightly better than the guns you already have, instead you get very specific guns that are very recognizable and named items, and they're just getting rid of the billions or gazillions of guns concept, because that concept hasn't really enthralled me.
This isn't your run-of-the-mill. I told you to leave.
So yeah, maybe they're gonna get rid of grenades. Maybe they're gonna have armor instead of shields. That would make sense. But yeah, you'd almost assume that Tiny Tina
Why'd it have to be a
might
clear day?
want to be moved into being more of a serious character, and this would be a way for her to get away from being crazy, still being silly but not being just totally psychopathic. But on a certain argument, that kinda is what is already happening with the Borderlands universe,
So sweet, you'll get cavities.
is that the characters are getting less comedic and less crazy. It's also strange in this presentation that Randy Pitchford was not on stage, which I think Randy Pitchford probably is going to announce his separation from Gearbox fairly quickly, like now that he doesn't own the company. Remember, I certainly complained about that as a thing, as an issue before, is that Randy Pitchford basically owned it. It was so there was no way that you could do a shareholders takeover or anything like that. Well, Embracer Group now owns Gearbox. Seems like now would be the time for him to be asked to leave, and I'm sure all the employees would love to see him leave, or at least more than half of them. Yep. But yeah, he was not on stage. He wasn't anywhere to be seen. He hasn't been anywhere to be seen, or nothing he said has been atrocious in a year or so, from what I've heard. So, yeah. Once he's totally out of the picture, I'd like to see Gearbox also try and do something with Duke Nukem and try to do something new, even though Battleborn failed. Let's see.
One arrow shower, and it's goodbye, evil.
Blessed is the promised day.
No scrubbing needed. Manish is hard
go
to
and
reach
hit this.
demons.
Impressive.
Next we have Metal Slug Tactics was announced for PC, which this is an interesting game in that the trailer definitely focuses on showing a lot of these characters jumping up and doing somersaults in the air, and they did it so many times it was like ridiculous. And like you've got these two female characters with their belly showing and in shorts, when you've got the guys in like pants and sleeveless. But the actual game itself looks to be basically an XCOM experience. Yeah, you just see all this like bullets flying all over it. It's a very kind of 90s anime-esque thing, and then it jumps into a hugely unimpressive pixel graphics idea. And then you've got her upside down throwing this thing, which, yeah, that may interest you at a certain point, but then it comes back to what you really will be seeing the whole time. Or if you do see those cutscenes are going to get really annoying. I feel like this is almost certainly a case where the owners of the Metal Slug series don't really know what to do with their products, and so they just said, hey, let's let somebody make this. Like, I bet this is a fairly boring and uninteresting thing. Alright, let's go over here and let's just see if we can play a recommended runecraft deck instead of playing our deck, since they suck. They had Jeff Goldblum, kind of a lot of celebrities in this Summer Games Fest show. It's like, it was basically the same as the Video Game Awards without the awards. But yeah, they had a lot of celebrities, a lot of musical people, not really that many announcements.
The world called, and
But yeah, Jurassic World Evolution 2 has been announced for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Which, okay, I think this is a simulation game, if I was to guess. Whereas with this level of graphics, I'd kind of like a survival, like, shooter game or something, or horror game even. That would be an interesting attempt, certainly, to spice up a horror game by having you run around a dinosaur island of some sort and being chased by dinosaurs instead of ghosts. Let's see, a game called Sable launches September 23rd. This is, I think, a game we've already seen and talked about, and the entire trailer for this was just a singer singing a song, like, while video, I think, was playing over it. I wasn't paying enough attention. A free-to-play RPG, Lost Ark, for PC is coming to the West this fall. Apparently this has been in, like, Korea for a long time. So yeah, at a certain point, if something has been super popular, it's also Amazon Games, so I guess Amazon is trying once again to get back into doing something with the games. Like, if a game like this is super popular and they're not going to separate the audience, which would also be a problem, people would not like it if you separated the audiences out. The Korean players and the Asian players are going to completely outclass and outrank the new players, and there's just not going to be a good way to get around that. Where ideally I'd like to see more of these Eastern MMORPGs come to the West, just to see if they can actually gain some popularity. Salt and Sacrifice was announced for the PS5, PS4, and PC. It's a follow-up to Salt and Sanctuary, which is a game I guess maybe I will get around to playing at some point. It does look to me in this trailer like they've zoomed in the camera a little bit, maybe polished the graphics up. So there might be a bit more of a better experience compared to Salt and Sanctuary. This is the 2D Dark Souls games, one of the early Dark Souls clones to come out trying to do something slightly different compared to a lot of Dark Souls clones who were not trying to do anything at all. A game called Solar Ash gameplay trailer is out. Let's see what this looks like. Of course, a trailer is not much. Dragon sliding on rails. At one time, 10 years ago, sliding on rails would have been a really big selling point. Now it's not really anything. So it looks like it's almost a colorful version of what is it? Shadow of the Colossus. I don't know if these needle points are places you're supposed to attack, or if you're actually healing the dragon and he's been stabbed by some kind of poison needles. That's Heart Machine and Annapurna Interactive, it looks like. Let's see. Deal one card. I think we have to do
Someone
this.
as beautiful as her could never understand.
Let's see. 2 Points Campus was announced for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Which I think the idea of 2 Points Hospital moving over to a campus probably will gain you a few fans. But I think the general concept of a sim with a bunch of silliness to it still doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Like, still feels like you're just playing The Sims, and when you look at the Sims as a property, it's just, that's not something I'm interested in.
Relinquish your vessel to find death. Renounce yourself. Renounce yourself.
So that's going to get rid of a massive amount of my cards by doing that.
Renounce yourself.
Let's see, Gametsu has Koch Media is launching a new publishing label called Prime Matter. The first 12 titles have been announced. So they're going to publish Payday 3, Crossfire Legion, King's Bounty 12, The Last Orc Crew, Encased, Gungrave Gore, The Chant, Final Form, Dolmen, End of Echoes, Scars Above from Madhead Studio. Am I confusing Madhead Studio with Mad Mind Studio? Maybe. Otherwise, this is the game that is, the game maker that made that game Scorn.
Scatter you to the four winds! Guinea pig!
Yeah, here's Scars Above, a dark sci-fi adventure game. Scars Above announced for consoles and PC. Yeah. Yeah, this is not the same developer as Scorn, I'm fairly certain. Let's see. Also a Painkiller game. Let's see. No, Phoenix Point, Wasteland 3, downloadable content, Iron Harvest, Outward Definitive Edition, Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord, and Kingdom Come Deliverance. So, with 12 games lined up, that pretty much screams that some publisher, and from the looks of it, it's probably the people who were publishing Payday, which I think that was like Starbreeze Studio or something. I think that was the name of it.
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand.
Do that.
Scatter you to the four winds!
The ordained hour has arrived.
You've no idea how pitiful and wretched I feel!
I need as much health and as much protection as possible. So yeah, Payday 3 will be published by Prime Matter, which still don't know if Payday 3 is really anything, or the Payday series is really anything. Like, ideally what I would like to see here is changing the death card on the bottom of my deck to a life card. If I could do that. That would be great. A real-time strategy called Crossfire Legion has been announced for PC. Check that out if you're interested. All of these announcements are nothing, though.
Impressed? You ain't seen nothing yet. Someone as beautiful as her could never understand. I'll scatter you to the four winds.
11 cards to go before I run out. A third-person action RPG called The Last Ori Crew has been announced for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. See, yeah, I definitely fell off paying attention. I didn't fall asleep, I don't think, but I stopped paying attention very quickly into the Summer Games Fest because I don't recognize any of these games. They either were talked about very quickly, which is probably the case if you're announcing 12 games from the same publisher. A RPG, sci-fi tactical RPG called Encased for PC. Do we have a video for this? Yeah, this looks a lot like a Fallout game if you're gonna remake Fallout. So yeah, can't say for certain that's what that is, or it's anything close to that. Let's see, I guess I have to do this, and then. This deck would work perfectly if, and only if, I could change that card. Gungrave Gore is going to be published and launches in 2022. Here's screenshots there. A lot of this is just nothing. I don't even know what Gungrave really is. It seems like you're some kind of, it says anti-hero, gun-wielding anti-hero. I don't know if this is the same Gungrave character. I don't know if I'm actually thinking about an anime called Gungraver. I might very well be thinking about an anime called Gungrave. And this game may have something to do with that or may not. A game called Ruiner, the Ruiner developer Recon Games announces a sci-fi first-person shooter called Final Form for consoles and PC. Which that's a very basic name. And this looks like one of those teaser trailers that's not really going to show much. Seems like you can turn into a ball like Metroid. Wouldn't it be funny if this is actually where Metroid Prime 4 is, as far as a game? Do we want to go back to default decks? No, I think this deck might have a strategy to it. I just haven't figured it out yet. A third-person action horror game, The Chant, to be published, launches in Q2 of 2022 for the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. This is all just Prime Matter
Father,
publishing
come on.
announcements. Which at a certain point, it feels like Prime Matter dominated completely. And he's summing. A game called Dolmen is going to be published by Prime Matter in 2022 for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I still feel like, though, you could easily have a publisher announce all these games, fall apart, and then all these games finding different publishers very quickly. A narrative-driven third-person action-adventure game called Echoes of the End has been announced for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC.
There's no retreat.
Which, let's see, is this from Prime Matter too? Yes. Seems like a female protagonist, maybe a female Witcher type character. Seems to also have the ability to manipulate and destroy matter, but you have to be careful about how you'd actually implement something like that as a gameplay mechanic, as how your engine would actually handle that. Yep, new Painkiller in development, and here you have Gametsu having basically no information whatsoever, but making a page regardless. I guess good on them for being thorough. Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord for consoles. Yep, very few pictures.
Kiss me goodbye.
Tales of Arise Summer Game Fest 2021 trailer was released. I guess that had already been talked about though. It's from Bandai Namco. Which I guess we're getting a couple of Japanese companies. I imagine a lot of these announcements, the way they feel, were going to be at like one of the Japanese conferences during Golden Week, and there was just a pandemic and lockdown. Even the Kojima Productions head, Kojima, was in his interview talking about how it was still a state of emergency in Japan and still considered a state of emergency. So I suspect that the Japanese events that would have happened got canceled, and some of the announcements got pushed to this event.
My fate
Let's
lies
see.
at the edge of a
The Dark Pictures anthology House of Ashes launches October 22nd. This is about the first article that has actual dates and useful information. Let's see. What are we trying to do here? Banish that.
The moon is beautiful tonight.
Do I want to reduce damage? Or do I want to destroy something? Alright, let's jump around some more. Let's see.
Want to play?
Gamma Sutras. GameStop lines up Amazon veterans as the CEO and CFO. So Matt Furlong will be the CEO, replacing outgoing George Sherman, and Mike Recupero will be the CFO. Which, okay, does that mean one rich person is taking the golden parachute so that now some other rich person can take a golden parachute, or do they actually think they have something that would
Sorry, but this ends here.
do they have actually anything that would right the ship, as it were?
How's that?
What? I guess that is the big question. Is there any real way to right the ship with GameStop? There might be. Certainly. There could be a point here where a lot of people get desperate for money, or people have been desperate for money, and they're pawning their Switches, their kids' games. But honestly, I doubt it. I doubt that saves, because I bet for every one person who's trying to pawn a game at a GameStop, there's two people who is not going to a GameStop to buy used games as much.
Sight? Check. Frills?
Let's see.
Double check.
Gamma Sutra says X-Treyarch devs debut a new Sony partner studio called Deviation Games, which that feels like an odd name for a company. That seems like a bad name for a company.
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand.
Do this.
Scatter you to the four winds.
The ordained hour has arrived.
You've no idea how pitiful and burned to ash.
This.
You deceitful, evil worm. Adorable to the end.
Let's see. That's not gonna save me. Anyway. GameStop sales also increased by 25.1% during the first quarter of 2021, which goes to show the power of, I guess, the power of meme stock people buying stocks, and also people or people fighting against companies and large capital gains companies trying to short the stocks and manipulate the stocks. As a massive amount, which honestly, after those numbers, I think you would probably want to sell. Like, because you just don't know what could increase the value of a GameStop any higher.
And I answer.
This one's for my family.
The only scenario I could think of is if you were just meme stocking and trying to hold forever. The only other point I think you could justify in your mind to sell, other than a major good announcement like that, would be after, like, the shareholding companies completely went bankrupt, which probably would never happen. So you'd probably just end up holding forever in that thought pattern. Hmm. Let's see. Moving on. An early access to a colony sim going medieval sells 175,000 copies in 1 week, which I guess that's a big amount for kind of a no-name company.
Lawful evil? Chaotic good.
Let's see, here's a blog here. Microsoft's future vision sees premium gaming on every screen. Which, okay. Of course, there is a real question on how many screens there are. I may very well have just found out. I'm not really going back to check. Either I accidentally unplugged the TV in a room I never go in, which is really pathetic to have a TV in a room. It's like a big 60-inch TV too. Either I unplugged it or I've just left it off enough that there's it's just died and broken. Which, yeah, that would suck, but it does, in this point, highlight how many monitors do the normal people have, how many TVs do normal people have. Of course, I'm saying this as I'm looking at 3 different monitors on a computer that also supplement as TVs. At least 2 of them are smart TVs. One of which I actually use as a smart TV on a infrequent basis. Let's see.
Lawful evil? Chaotic good.
I'm just warming up, drowned in
That. See. Here we can see No More Heroes is mostly positive on Steam. This is a little redundant, but for that reason I can just move that over to my wish list and we'll see if No More Heroes 2 is getting that same positivity. Not yet. Apparently a lot of people opted to play the first game. I mean, it would be kind of weird since there's been such a long time since anybody would have probably played No More Heroes 1. Be a little weird for people to have jumped to the second game. So yeah, and certainly I wouldn't jump to the second game either. Like I said last stream, I hate that phrase, like I said. There's a high amount of grinding that you're potentially going to have playing No More Heroes. So
Everything all right here?
you would want to work your way through that too.
I go with the wind.
I'm just warming up, drowned in light.
Just go ahead and play that anyways. See, here we have a game on Steam called Drunken Dad Simulator, which looks like it's just a troll game where you play as a bear. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything there. 89 cents, English, German. That doesn't seem like anything. Yeah. It's not a funny enough concept, frankly, because Bad Grandpa as a movie is about as close, I think, as you can go down that direction, and even then, I didn't watch Bad Grandpa because that concept does not appeal. Alright, well, that has gotten real cheap. or sigil. Let's see. Earthright.
What masterpiece will I create today? I go with the wind. I serve in hopes of a better tomorrow.
Earthen assault.
Running out of time.
Done.
Here we have a game on Steam called The King's Cards, which is tagged as roguelike. Looks visually unimpressive. $4.99, English only. Should go into some of these articles. Here we have Super Soccer Blast, America versus Europe, which doesn't look terrible, and apparently by the thumbnail is co-ed soccer. I would like to find a soccer game that's good. I assume that this is a real soccer game and not just a simulation. $7.99, no in-app purchases, bunch of languages. Let's see, Super Soccer Blast versus Super Soccer Blast, America versus Europe. This came out June 19th. This came out June. Interesting, June 11th. So this one's mostly positive, I guess. But it is weird that there are two versions of the game. Yeah, I'd have to consider that as a factor also. See, this,
Lawful evil. Chaotic good.
Evolve.
The ordained hour has arrived.
Wrongdoing? Me? Perish the thought.
Why, you've
Buff.
got the face of a chameleon.
Buff, play. There we go. Might be able to actually win here. So, not accounting for the name, this is what the new news source that I'm trying at the moment is called Game Spew. I have an article here. Check out Back for Blood's new trailer and find out how to get in on the beta. Which
Be long now.
doesn't seem like it's actually linking to a trailer or linking.
I meant it as a compliment.
It links directly to YouTube, maybe because it's an appropriate video. Ah, I see. Well, that's almost appreciated. I'm still wondering about, are there 4 players in Back for Blood that you're playing as, or is it possibly 5 or 6 players? You can see they've kind of doubled, maybe tripled the number of zombies they can be on screen, but I'm not sure there's much other as far as changes. It looks like maybe they're gonna have boss fights this time. That is something that is very noticeable too in Left 4 Dead, is that it seems fairly obvious at some point there was going to be boss fights at the end of the conflict of every scenario, and that got cut. Here we have Wax Museum Seek and Find from Crisp App Studios, not Big Fish Games, which explains why it looks slightly different. How much do they want? $4.99, whole bunch of languages. $4.99 is a much more reasonable price to ask for a hidden object game, and I would definitely appreciate seeing the markup go down on hidden object games. Here we have a game called Parka Alien, a Ludo in Space. Ludo is what this game is called. Although it's also, I think, called maybe Parcheesi or something else. It's got like 2 or 3 names. $2.54 English and Spanish. It doesn't look visually polished enough to interest me. Right. Three total enemies. And then can we do an Earthright?
Blessed is the promised day.
This guy's just talking in very deep Japanese voice. Let's see. A cinematic puzzle adventure game called Planet of Lana is announced for the Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC. Which, okay, this was another one of the summer games. Best games. I kind of tried to break up the announcements here. A lot of these trailers are just visuals, though. It's just like, alright, this is the beginning of something to maybe get you interested. But yeah, there's been hundreds, if not thousands of games, trailers I've seen that just try to get you hyped and then they disappear, or they're not anywhere as interesting as you thought they might be. Beautiful Steed, draw a card.
Hopes of a better tomorrow.
Right. Still getting totally destroyed. See, Sony Interactive Entertainment and Deviation Games announced a partnership to develop brand new original IP. This probably is more of the same, though a slap in the face to Sony of Japan that instead of them, after they basically shut down one of the Japanese studios, they're announcing they're going to be working with a California-based, Los Angeles-based Western game development company. That is not going to encourage the Japanese fan base to buy PlayStation 5s, even if they could. I don't think you can play a game here where you're going to piss off the people who would buy PlayStation 5s in droves if they were on sale for a long time, and then just hope that that the Japanese in particular are so flippant that they'd forget about that and come back in a year or two buying PS5s. If anything, there might be some truth to that, though, because they still seem to be buying PS4s to a certain level.
Activate. Enhance.
Let's see. A Vampire the Masquerade Battle Royale game officially being titled Blood Hunt. Which, okay. Does that Battle Royale game take place in the same city or sections of the city over and over again? Or is apparently it's Prague. Are the maps going to change? At a certain point, is it a good experience to play a battle royale where everybody is a different species of vampire? I mean, like, I seriously doubt there will be humans fighting against the vampires. It'll definitely be vampire on vampire action, or vampire hunter. Nope, that's vampire too. Yep. I'm not sure there's an actual logical way you don't just end up with overpowered characters fighting overpowered characters. Axiom Verge 2 adds a PS5 and PS4 version, which, okay. Not interested in Axiom Verge, nor does this really even look like what Axiom Verge looked like. Sky Children of the Light for Switch launches June 29th, which I think this is that mobile phone game, if I'm thinking of it right. That mobile phone game that oddly came to PC and then nobody really cared, and now it's going to Switch and I'm sure nobody will care. A game called Garden Story launches this summer, which you play as a grape, which that's something different, at least. Let's see. It looks like it is probably a Stardew Valley game, but maybe not. Maybe more of a adventure game. Could be that. Yeah, it could be closer to a Zelda game. Elden Ring launches January 21st, 2022 for the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, which I don't think we got any new trailer for it. Oh, the Japanese one is not age restricted, so we'll watch the Japanese trailer instead of the ESB English one. Okay, this looks like a Demon Souls game, and that might be fine. I guess the real question is, what does the new Dark Souls, what does the new Demon Souls game do? Is every new Demon Souls game just going to play exactly the same or worse than the best Demon Soul game to compare it to, and have a small selection of new enemies? I mean, that might be the case on how it plays. At a certain point, there might be an argument that Demon Soul games should just be boss rush games. Here we have a game on Steam called Automatrons, which looks like nothing. Not even going to bother to click any further on the screenshots. $9.99, English full audio. That is something I probably should do more of. It's just like, nope. I don't need to see 3 more bad screenshots hoping to find some quality that obviously won't be there. Here we have one called ATC Infinite that once again looks like nothing. $4.49 English only. Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge is mostly positive. So I guess I can take that off the follow list and put it on the wish list. There's no in-app purchases or anything like this. If anything, it seems like what they've done is they've bundled and maybe re-released the games in a bundle only instead of individually. Ninja Gaiden Sigma under the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection is mixed reviewed, though, which I think they didn't like the way it was ported. Let's see. Overpriced, bare bones, lazy as possible, which is standard for Konami Tecmo. And so, yeah, if you have to buy the Master Collection now, and that includes all 3 games, that sucks. Although at this point, $35.99 for 3 games looks like a much better deal. But it is trickery, to say the least.
Nothing stops me once I got my
This
speedy boots on.
is what we were trying to do with this deck. Here we have a game called The Drain Goddess. which looks like a horror game. Or maybe you throw a chakra? Some kind of spells on it? There's a lot of screenshots here with nothing showing. That seems like a problem. Yeah, I don't think there's enough game here. It's just weird camera angles and jump scares. Early access $14.99, English and Chinese. Here we have a game called Totally Normal Journey, the interactive musical, which looks like a troll joke game of no real quality, although the animation doesn't look as bad as it could. $1.49 English only. Here we have Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. So that is also mixed. So basically they're forcing you to get 2 bad games and pay $36 for the one good game that people liked, which was Ninja Gaiden 3. Yeah. So yeah, that's Konami shenanigans. Still up to them, I see.
Corpses come in every shade imaginable.
Let's see. Do we want to spell boost anything? I don't think we do. Put impalement arts into your hand and give it the following effect. Deal 1 damage to an enemy.
Justice finds a way.
Here we have a game on Steam called Neo 2045, which seems like it's a sandbox game. This kind of low polygon design, it feels a lot like those early 90s bad Canadian cartoons or French cartoons. It might have worked 5 or 10 years ago to make a game like this, particularly if you had some sandbox concept. Like if this was what Minecraft looked like, this wouldn't be much different in as far as Minecraft. In fact, Minecraft is even blockier than this. This is free to play MMO though, with no monetization effort, so I don't know how that would actually last. Here we have something t to the power of 2.5, if I'm reading that correctly, which looks to me like it's some kind of puzzle game of no interest. 99 cents English only. TTT in a cube is what they're describing it as. The visuals are bad. I don't recognize this puzzle. If there was something to this puzzle, I don't know it. Here we have Life of the Fly 2, which we should go back and see if Life of the Fly 1 was well received. This feels like this is probably a very short nothing game. $7.99 English only. Let's see if this developer... see. I wouldn't be surprised if Life of the Fly 1 was fairly well received because streamers played it. But no, not really. This came out December 18th, 2022. Barely has 29 reviews. I don't think that makes any justification for me to put either one of those games in my follow list. I can play this here. And then I can play this. And I can do this. Hmm. Hmm. Is there any evolve worth doing otherwise?
The ordained hour has arrived.
Oh my gosh, so wow.
That,
Justice finds a way.
that. Yeah, we have a game called Husky's Adventure, which looks like it's a asset flip platforming game. Early access 239, English only. Yeah, we have a game called Kochu's Dream, which looks like you play as a bug. This is from Sock Pop Collective, which they're the ones that flooded Steam. Is this one of the ones I can... yeah, this one's already an ignored game. So yeah, I'm still gonna see the ignored games, even if I ignore a publisher like Sock Pop Collective, who flooded Steams with bad games enough to the point where even if they did come out with a good game, I wouldn't want to support them. Here we have a game called Mercenaries Blaze, which just looks like a strategy placement game. $17.99, English, Chinese, and Japanese. Yep. I don't see anything that interests me really here. And frankly, I'll just come out and say it. It's fairly boring to see someone in just regular armor without like any crazy Final Fantasy style belts and loops in. I mean, there are some belts here, and it's fairly boring to see someone with a hood over their head and like no stomach, no cleavage, nothing covered up. Like, that is not the level of experience that you're used to seeing, or I'm used to seeing, as far as Japanese games, Japanese RPGs in particular.
I don't need a gun, not when I have no words.
Okay.
Blessed is the promised day.
I always catch the varmint. Eventually.
So I have like all these rapid fires, but I can't even do anything with them. Let's see.
The journey continues.
Game of Sutra has Little Orpheus, Genshin Impact, and more celebrated at the 2021 Apple Design Awards. Chinese Room, Madcap Platformer, Little Orpheus, Alba Wildlife Adventurer, and Genshin Impact. So, yeah. Check that out if you're interested. Let's see. Scavenger Studios has reinstated the co-founders after an investigation into harassment and toxicity. The CEO and co-founder Amelia Lamarche following the outcome of an independent investigation and allegations of harassment and toxicity at the seasoned developer. Creative director and co-founder Simon Darview, who is the subject of a number of allegations, has also been reinstated in a smaller, non-managerial role of their own choosing. I guess at this point, GameIndustry.biz is getting thrown under the bus by Game of Sutra. Yeah. And you're going to see more of this, and you can look at, like, without reading any further into this, you can look at it one of two ways. One is going to say that an independent organization is always going to side with the large corporation and reinstate people if they can get away with it at all. Or two, this is the beginning of the ridiculous cancel culture attacks to fall down and fail.
The world called, and I answered.
This one's for my family.
Inherently, what would need to happen for society to fix itself even slightly. Is there's just this huge imbalance as far as power of employee and employer, and that maybe that is just straight up more unionization is the best way to quickly fix that, or we need like a federal government or worldwide service where you can file complaints, and then companies that get the most complaints per percentage of employees are heavily fined or investigated by a federal agency that would theoretically be more independent. But even the government has a corrupt agenda to want to allow the working class to be exploited as much as possible to increase their GDP and allow themselves to build more weapons and bombs and go to more wars. But yeah, if there was a percentage where it said, yeah, almost every job has a 10% rating of people who are feeling like they're being abused, that might establish a more standard scale to work on. But yeah, the bigger problem certainly is when these complaints come from the video game industry, they ring a lot more hollow than if they were coming from, say, the auto industry or the Uber industry or Chinese factories. Like, very few people are getting their shoes taken away and are having to throw themselves off buildings just to get attention at all. Let's see, what do we want to do?
Corpses come in every shade imaginable.
Gamma Sutra has an article here. Hackers have nabbed the source code for Frostbite, FIFA, and other EA tech, according to Motherboard. 780 gigabytes of data. One of the things that I think might come out of this that would be really interesting is if there was evidence that the Frostbite engine was based on stolen technology of some sort. Otherwise, we're going to get actual evidence showing that FIFA is designed to be manipulative and gambly, which people already know that. And otherwise, there's just kind of nothing there. Not that I can think of. Not anything of real interest. Like, you're not going to roll your own FIFA servers or anything like that. Or most people aren't, so...
A glimpse into the future is only the beginning.
The ordained hour has arrived.
My crystal sword will bring an... I am beyond
This.
prophecy.
Oh, waffle cakes.
Do this.
Wow.
Do this. This.
Justice finds a way.
CD Projekt Red says employee data may have leaked in the February breach. Also, Gamma Sutra article.
Mean son of a gun, ain't ya?
And the hyper-casual publisher Voodoo has acquired the marketing company BidShake. That's also a Gamma Sutra article. Alright. 1 damage to an enemy. Draw a card. This would be the time to do this. Nope, that was actually the worst time to do that.
Rapid fire!
I am beyond prophecy.
Wow.
Here we have a game called Warlike. Sorry, I'm going quiet
I'll
here.
open the way. You follow behind.
Trying to play the game. $3.19, English full audio allegedly. This doesn't look like much of a game. Although it does seem like it's trying to be a battlefield simulator, which we don't have a ton of those as far as actual battlefield simulators instead of first-person shooters called Battlefield. Here we have a game called Space Warfare, which looks like a space strategy. It's free to play, English and Russian. Let's see. This here. Then this. Then this. And then this. How many times has it been spell boosted?
Blessed is the promised day.
I think I can win here. Maybe.
I am beyond prophecy.
Maybe. Here we have a game called Reconnect the Heart of Darkness, which is nothing. $14.99, English only. Here we have what looks like a Chinese full motion video game, or Korean or Japanese full motion video game. It's mixed reviewed. We've seen this before where they look fairly good, but then they get reviewed fairly badly. And I wonder if that's just because they're badly written or what. $8.99, Chinese only. The idea is not a bad thought by any means. Like, the one thing China is known for having is a lot of people, so if they can take advantage of having a lot of people and
You're a solid fighter.
and make a bunch of live action content, whether that's movies, TV, or full motion video games, they should be able to pull that off. Of course, the massive censorship problem of a totalitarian government like China is a problem. And that's probably why there hasn't been major video live action content of any interest coming out of China. I mean, like Crouching Dragon what is that? Crouching Dragon, Hidden Leaf, whatever. That was like the last major Chinese movie that made any kind of big impact at all.
This
And
one's for
like
my
Wire
family.
Fu and karate games can only get you so karate movies can only get you so far. Here we have a game on Steam called Blood Drop, which looks like it's a precision platformer, kind of a speed running game from the looks of it. Yep, you want to run as fast as possible, trying to get to the top of leaderboards. Yep, not my kind of game. Early access, $6.99. English third-party EULA. Here we have Forgotten Hill, First Steps. I guess this is trying to get name confusion around Silent Hill, although it doesn't look anything like that. Let's see, $2.99, bunch of languages. It doesn't look particularly good, but I might be willing to give it a follow. Yeah, I'll be generous and give it a follow. Almost certainly it will not get enough reviews ever to be reviewed, or if it does get 30 reviews, it's going to be bad anyways. Here we have a game called Helpless that has a thick film grain on the video, which, if that was anything other than an excuse to hide the bad assets that you flipped, I might have been interested in that. You do a little bit less film graininess, pixelation on this, and you tell me that it is a artistic decision to make like a grindhouse type video game, I'd almost buy it. This is $1.99, English, allegedly full audio, and I definitely won't be buying that. Let's see.
A glimpse into the future is only the beginning.
Here we have a game called One Hand Clapping.
I'll hit the vanguard.
Is it a puzzle game? You sing into your microphone to solve musical puzzles and discover the power of your voice changes the world. Ooh, that would probably never be a game that I could actually play. I think I would fail miserably at that. I mean, unless it's just broken down in such a way that all you really have to do is make your voice louder, and even then, that would be weird. I do want to see potentially how this game is received, so I'm going to put it on the fall list. $9.99, bunch of languages, but yeah.
Corpses come in every shade imaginable.
Will any of these evolve and do anything?
I am beyond prophecy. So this is my fate after all.
Just finish the job.
Get rid of that character before it becomes a issue. Here we have a game called Jaden and Jasmine Curse of Deception, which looks like a visual novel made
What a wonderfully
starring
cruel
Jaden
world.
Smith.
Despair or
That I really feel like that's what it is trying to show here on the thumbnail. Yeah, you definitely have a weird thing in which there aren't really any African descendants, African ancestry characters in Japanese stories and in Japan in general. So now you're trying to make something that has a little bit of that, has some more diversity. That can be good unless it gets shoved in your face. Looks like it's not a lot of text when you have it popping up this much. It's kind of weird to see the text be really small and really big. The artwork doesn't look particularly great. Seems like there's a chance though that there might be something here. The problem with this is that there probably isn't really any story here, like most Western visual novels. It's based after a book series called Jaden and Jasmine, English to full audio. Interesting. So I guess the question would really come down to, is anybody reading these book series, or is this just in out of nowhere?
Well, that's too bad.
That worked better than I thought. It probably isn't a good statement to make a video game like this if you have a book series, because what plays fine in a webtoon or a comic book looks worse compared to some of the particularly high quality animation that you see in visual novels. Like, this is just a great example of like this character looks very different from like this character. It kind of feels like it's all over the place.
Lightning storm.
Well, on to the next project.
Do I want to evolve? Take out this guy? Nope. Next we have a game called Soaring Machinery, which looks like an RPG Maker game. Well, actually, maybe not an RPG Maker game. It actually looks like a JRPG. Let me say that. Doesn't look interesting. $9.89, English, Japanese, full audio. Well, we lost there, but we've made a couple victories already, so we're doing better than normal. Here we have a game called Fractal Block World, which looks like maybe a visual tech demo more than an actual game. Some kind of like Minesweeper in 3D concept, maybe. Early access, $5.99, English, allegedly full audio, third party EULA. Nothing of interest there. Here we have a game called Women's Quiz. I don't know how this isn't going to come off as sexist. I mean, even if it's benevolent sexism and the whole game is about informing people of the positive role women have had in history, that's still benevolent sexism at a certain level. $6.29, English, Spain, Spanish. Doesn't look like an interesting game anyways. Here we have a game called Open Country, which is already mostly negative. That looks interesting because it doesn't look bad. Like, this does not look bad at all. $13.49, English, full audio. So what's the problem? Game looks and feels and plays like a Tony Hawk's Pro Skating side quest on a PlayStation 2. It has potential, but I guess the graphics are ugly and the gameplay are janky. Very ugly menu. Not finished. So apparently the graphics here are deceptively good looking. This doesn't seem like what the experience that people are having in general. And I guess I have to, if you have 34% positivity, that's probably not some coordinated review bomb, or if it is, I just can't couldn't get around that. Here we go. Here we have a game called Class of 09. It's not a dating sim, it's a rejection sim. This is an anti-visual novel. Instead of playing as some guy magically able to score with beautiful anime girls, you play the anime girl and create a mass chaos in the lives of the potential suitors. Earnest comedy, social accuracy, and late 20s aesthetic await you in the Class of 09. I don't know if this is really something I would want to get into, because I think this is probably a little mean-spirited. I think this is probably a little bit trolly, and I just don't think that would be something that I'd find funny. English full audio. Social simulation fit for psychopaths. I'd like to see how the reviews go on this. once it gets past the meme and the joke concept. Seems like, yeah. There's 2 screenshots here that seem to be around the idea of trying to get people to kill themselves or hurt themselves. There's a drug use reference. And then there was another prompt where you were just telling somebody to kill themselves. I will literally kill myself if you return to the main menu. Yep. Yeah, this is too dark. Yeah, too much of a meme, too much of a joke. Here we have a game that's all in Asian characters. Looks like it's just a placement strategy game, probably a Chinese game. Early access, $5.09, $5.09, Chinese only, yeah. Doesn't look terrible.
Impossible!
Here we have a game called Z Arena, which looks like a zombie game, and it doesn't look like there's enough level design. And I think level design is going to be pretty key in any kind of zombie game going forward. Do you spell coronavirus as 2 words? Yes, you do. I think you might spell it as 1 word though. This is $8.99. I don't think we're ready to have zombie games based on the coronavirus, which is still, in my opinion, going on. If not in the Western world, at least all the rest of the world. Let's see, Gamatsu has Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin, Summer Game Fest trailer. If you want to check that out. I think we probably looked at this trailer already. We can save ourselves some time and skip that. Evil Dead the Game gameplay overview trailer and screenshots. Yeah, I guess these are 2 of the characters from the TV show with Ash. I don't recognize where this guy's coming from though. See, you have Ash, Kelly Maxwell, Pablo, Simon Bolivar, Scotty, Lord Arthur, and more. Let's watch this. Watch this on YouTube. Yeah, because I really want to know specifically, like, how is this game really going to play? Are you just running around fighting fighting deadites, I guess is what you are doing? This doesn't feel like the Friday the 13th game so much. Although I think this is the same creator as the Friday the 13th game. Maybe not. Instead, this feels like more closer to something like Left 4 Dead, which it'll be interesting if this came out and Back 4 Blood was less interesting than this game. Of course, the problem here is you're going to definitely want to play as Ash, and it's going to be very annoying to play as anybody other than Ash. Does seem like it has a fairly cinematic camera.
A glimpse into the future is only the beginning.
Darn it. So yeah, that might be a good game, but I think there's a lot of room for failure too. And honestly, it feels like it would make a lot more sense if it was a single player game or a co-op game at most, where you had an AI character following you around if you're playing in single player. Endless Dungeon gameplay trailer, according to Gamatsu. It's also available. A game just called Endless Dungeon seems like a fairly simplistic name. Looks like it's a colorful, slightly more zoomed in top-down twin stick shooter game. But yeah, I don't immediately see anything of interest there.
Trying calculations set. Ready to summon.
Let's see.
Lightning storm. It was so lonely.
This is how you cast.
That's a waste of a card to play that. Death Stranding Director's Cut was announced for PS5. More information allegedly coming soon. The trailer basically just showing the main guy from Death Stranding and making a joke about him getting in a box like in Metal Gear Solid. I don't think there's really anything else that to take from that, from the trailer. I think it's all 100% a joke video. And I don't know what you do to Death Stranding now to make it work as a game, and what the director's cut could add as new content. Like it feels like what you'd have to do is remove the vast majority of the gameplay concept of Death Stranding and just have it pre-programmed where the world becomes easier, more transversable as you move along. Or you cut out a lot of content and just speed up the whole process in its totality. Which that might work too, is if you're going to give me the abridged version of Death Stranding, I might be way more enthusiastic around that idea. Let's see.
Quartzes come in every shade imaginable.
Okay.
I can't move.
I think I'm going to lose here.
Oh my gosh, so wow. I'm out of cash.
Could have survived if it had done one more damage to that.
The path ends here.
And I may have won if I had played one more card, but probably not. See, according to Gamatsu, Last Stop launches July 22nd. It's a single-player third-person adventure set in present-day London. What platforms is it coming on? Yeah, wandering around, some weird, surreal experience.
The artifacts obey me.
Transporting this green light that seems to be appearing all over the place. Might be something to that. Apparently it's coming to everything. That might be an interesting standalone story. It might be nothing. See, the Annapurna Interactive Showcase is set for July 29th, which is funny because one of the games that was announced was an Annapurna Interactive game before this, so they plan on, I guess, announcing several more things at their own special event. Which, whatever. We'll see if it's good, if it's a worthwhile event later. See, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout has a Nier Automata 2B costume launching on June 18th, which is weird to say the least. To make a Fall Guys character with that kind of outfit. Because that outfit does not work, and I think that is the joke. Here we have a game on Steam called Star Scraper, which looks like just another Tiny Tower clone, or Sim Tower clone. $19.99, English full audio, nothing there. Here we have one called We Are Football, which is a time management strategy game according to the tags. Yep, and that's what it looks like. It is $31.49. English and German full audio. Already mixed reviewed, and definitely not something that would catch my attention. Here we have a game called Land of War, The Beginning, which is already mixed reviewed. A lot of trailers, a lot of video. And yeah, seems like still when we get to the edge of these, that's actually very good graphics for that cutscene. Like, it seems like when we get to the later tabs, that's when the RAM has run out as far as what Chrome is using. Although, in all fairness, Chrome isn't using all the RAM in my computer, so it's just trying to save itself. I guess save my computer when really I'd ideally like it to not do that and try and max out the RAM to the full amount.
Justice himself. You might die from this.
Although me saying that is insane, because that's the exact opposite of what every other person in the world wants. Because Chrome normally sucks down a massive amount of RAM for a very few number of pages. Whereas I'm opening hundreds, if not 1,000 or 2 pages across 5 or 6 different windows. Anyways, let's see these reviews. This is $25.49, English and Polish full audio. Awful, just a rip off of MOA and Call of Duty 1. With the same air graphics, the dialogue is aimed at 5 years old. To make something this terrible takes hard work, poor voice acting. Plays like Medal of Honor. That's what I guessed MOA is. There, yep. And in a funny way, this is kind of the problem, is that anybody that was going to try and make a military first-person shooter game is going to probably make something that feels like a Medal of Honor or Call of Duty game. And it's just not going to be good unless they have a ton of money behind it. And this developer hasn't even made anything else, so it's no surprise that people are not happy. I can see the beginning of the end here. Although I think we may have a problem in which that the news source I decided to follow did not give me enough news, and so we may have to go back and once again check TechRaptor and GameBolt, or just TechRaptor. Honestly, just go back to TechRaptor is the better choice.
Lightning storm.
Here we have a game on Steam called A Rogue Escape, which looks like nothing. We may actually have to do some follow list cleanup today, which wouldn't be a bad idea. Like, we've only been going 2.5 hours. I don't have a justification to end early. $19.99. Bunch of languages. Looks like a VR game. Do I think there might be something here? Maybe. Because it's a VR game. Maybe that would be interesting. To draw. And then destroy. And gotta play.
I'll design a brighter future for everyone.
And then evolve.
Blessed is the promised day.
I'll keep going, no matter what. Don't give up.
And attack.
I was so lonely.
Here we have a game called Happy Poker, which looks like a low effort poker game with in-app purchases, free to play. Yeah, in-app purchases, Chinese only. And see, this is particularly the kinds of games that Chinese government said they absolutely would not approve. See, Gamatsu has the Famitsu sales updated, so let's see who's new this week. Still Nintendo Switch is winning. It's kind of funny to say, yeah, the Switch kind of doesn't have a great lineup of games, but if you look at the top 10 games, it's the same old top 10 games that are still selling fairly well from nearly 2 years ago. So, if anything, this highlights a problem with just the game industry in general being in a bit of a slump. The newest game on their list is Wings of Darkness in spot 19 and spot 21 for the Switch, which oddly the PS4 version did beat the Switch version for that more anime-esque game. 284 Xbox Series S's, no Xbox Ones or Series. Still selling some new 3DS's, but PlayStation 5s are selling way better than PlayStation 4s, but PlayStation 4s are selling better than the digital editions of PlayStation 5s.
This isn't your run-of-the-mill spec.
Answers come in every shade imaginable.
At last I will be anointed.
Oh my gosh, so loud!
A game called Opus Echo of Starsong launches this summer for PC. A boy ventures out with a girl who can sing the Song of Asteroids. Well, okay, that would explain the name Opus and singing. Well, this looks interesting. It's probably a cutscene. Maybe not. Maybe you spend a lot of your time just in space, floating around and kind of platforming.
The path ends here.
Well, that looks slightly interesting. A game called Unexplored 2, The Wayfarer's Legacy, has a E3 2021 trailer. Let's see. This looks visually polished enough to maybe be something. It's kind of a top-down puzzle game, adventure game. Maybe. I guess the question would be, what happened to the Unexplored 1? Do they have a link to that? Let's see if we have the Unexplored here. this was very positive, came out in 2017. It definitely looks very different from what Unexplored 2 looks like. There is a danger in gravely improving your graphics in your sequel, but not much of a danger, really. So I guess I'll have to get around to playing Unexplored 1 first. Let's see, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order for PS5 and Xbox Series is now available, according to Gamatsu. Here we have live stream Escape from Hotel Inazuma, which I feel like this game we had already kind of decided to put on the fall list. There's positive reviews now, but I want to get a little bit more because I'm a little bit afraid that this might just be full of adult content. $16.99, Japanese full audio. This might have some cheesecake images. Yeah, nudity, sexual content, mature content. Here's one for you. All characters involved in sexual content are over the age of 18, which means there must be a younger character that is not involved at some point. Which, honestly, that should probably be the default way of saying it. Instead of just saying all characters are 18, we've definitely seen games where there's a character that clearly wasn't 18. Either they were way older or they were way younger. Here we have a game called Chicory, A Colorful Taste, which looks like it's some kind of adventure game where you paint the world with color. There might be something to that. Guess the question is, would it really work, or is it a gimmick that would be broken? So far it's positive. $19.99, bunch of languages. Yeah, I think that deserves a follow. Imagine it's not a game where you do a lot of actual gameplay with the color. If it probably is either a lot of coloring and very little gameplay, which is what I think it is, or it's less coloring than what's being shown in this trailer. But maybe not. Maybe it is just a lot of... Let's see.
A glimpse into the future is only the beginning.
Alright, well,
Careful. These thorns are sharp.
here we have a game called Amid the Lines, which seems to be a fighting hand-to-hand combat game. I think it's probably more of an asset flip game than an actual polished experience. I think at this point I have so few games to talk about that have come out on Steam. I should leave those for Monday. Even if there are announcements pre-E3 and E3 announcements that happen over the weekend, that news is probably going to be fairly singular to talk about because you're not getting real bits of information. This looks like if it could get polished a little bit more, I might try it. $4.89. It probably won't, though. It probably will never get reviews and probably does not matter.
I am beyond prophecy.
Corpses come in every shade imaginable.
So yeah, I'm gonna try and look at articles instead. So yeah, like this is the only other GameSpew article I even opened up was Soup Pot's new clip show shows us ways to cook. Which, yeah, once I cleaned up GameSpew, if they were going to be my new news source, like, yeah, this looks like an interesting Korean cooking game. I would really like to see cooking games versus cooking other things, or cooking competition shows. So yeah, here's their website, and everything I was choosing as far as things I wanted to talk about were sites that looked alright. So what articles? You can upgrade your physical copy of Jedi Fallen Order for free even if you have a discless console. Dark Pictures Anthology, we talked about that. Yeah, there's just not a lot of stories coming out from GameSpew, but nothing bad either, so I think that's more and more what I'm running into is a lot of websites that are just full of garbage articles that don't matter to me at all. Yeah, most of these articles, though, are redundant articles of what we would have gotten from Gamatsu, which very possibly means that all their news is coming from Gamatsu. So I don't think GameSpew is that. Gamatsu has the No More Heroes 3 introduction trailer. Here you can see he's fighting some kind of goo monster. Let's see, let's watch this on YouTube. I wish there was a way to get around that. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. 0Z. Alright, so you've got a big monster looking character, and you've got a lightsaber again. Looks like his lightsaber that he's using in No More Heroes 3 is much closer to what was in the first game. Here's an Akira motorcycle skin, so maybe the game will have motorcycle skins. Looks like there's going to be a space flying section. Looks like he's going to be just fighting crazier and crazier enemies, although the game fairly changes if you're fighting giant monsters a lot or if you're fighting crazy enemies. Crazy enemies makes a little bit more sense than giant monsters does. So yeah, I wouldn't say that particularly hypes me up for No More Heroes 3, but I was already fairly hyped up on it. Game called Tribes of Midgard launches July 27th, according to Gamatsu. Do we have a trailer for this one? The visuals kind of look all over the place. Seems like it's kind of a high action survival game, which that's an interesting idea, certainly. It's almost like the game Gauntlet, where it's 4 players running around a dungeon, but in this case it's an open world dungeon, leveling up. It might work fairly well. This is from Gearbox Publishing, which oddly, you would have thought that that would have gotten more announcement. But it wasn't even mentioned, I think, during the sale. The only reason I even saw about this before this point was the fact that I'm following their YouTube channel. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if 2K is not involved with Tribes of Midgar and 2K was the people in charge of promoting a game, the Tiny Tina's Adventure game. That would make a lot of sense. And see, Gamma Sutra just has a compiled list of everything that was announced as far as the Summer Game Festival. Among Us is coming out to some platform. Doesn't seem to even know. Yeah, this isn't even really an extensive list. So that's the kind of redundant, useless information I'm going to try and usually avoid.
This isn't your run-of-the-mill spell.
All to find a brighter future for everyone.
What's for Denden? Thorns. Do nothing.
The ordained hour has arrived.
I'll keep going. No, don't give up.
I still lost there. Let's see. Rainbow Billy, the Curse of the Leviathan, is a daring adventure to look out for, according to GameSpew. Which, okay. Seems like that's a hype article. Though it doesn't seem to have a real release date or announcement of actual actionable information. It's coming to PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. No release date is set yet. Okay. So the next news source I was going to try was the Sixth Axis website. I've gotten several of these and ready to go. Let's see if we look at their news. Let's see if they have any. Battlefield 4 is available for Prime Gaming. That was the 6th. Nope, this won't work as a news site because it barely has any news coming out. Oh, this is one of the ones with the European. It's 611, 611, 611. So I'd have to remember that they put the numbers backwards. Let's see. Xbox Game Pass is being upgraded, new subscriptions, optimized games, and more. It's a game called Organs, Please. Let's see about that. Crossplay is coming to Overwatch, but all console players will need a Battle.net account. No, this is still a fairly small amount of news. There's nothing new there, and that's what keeps happening. Is I keep finding news sources that either are not giving me anything new, or they're just giving me the exact same thing. What's this game? Organs, Please. Oh, it is. It is a Papers, Please clone. Called Organs, Please.
I guess you're looking for a fight.
It's gonna be part of Steam's next Game Fest, which happens next week, which I assume there's gonna be a Steam sale around that. Although maybe we're not gonna get major summer sale type stuff, and maybe it is just going to all be a small fests. Well, regardless, that site didn't work. Next, you also notice that a lot of these have like the exact same WordPress theme on them. It seems like that's pretty much all they're doing. So this one's called videogamer.com. You'd think that that would be a huge website with a name like that. I'm not sure that it really is, though. I guess the part of the problem here is Gamasutra is covering... Game Pass is aiming to get at least one new first-party game every quarter. Like, maybe Gamasutra alone, or yeah, no, Gametsu. Maybe Gametsu alone has all the news anyways, and I just didn't need that level of redundancy. Okay. Apparently videogamer.com also updated their visuals fairly recently. It's a very yellow website. It's an odd choice. Scrolling back here. Looks like a decent amount of news, but once again, not really anything new. Next we have IGC, envisioncommunity.co.uk. CD Projekt Red and Netflix announced WitcherCon. That was something I clicked on. Interesting. Why did that not show up? Oh, because I didn't click on it. Imagination and Epic Games bring Hollywood productions to brands. Guilty Gear Strive Dev Diaries, Land of War, The Beginning. Yep. Rockapella headlines the music for the crime adventure. Antone Grisman becomes an ambassador for Yu-Gi-Oh! The trading card game. Game called Loot River. See, these are new articles. This is stuff I haven't seen before. Let's see. Rocket League gets new and returning Fast and Furious content. I'm not going to go back too far here. NetEase Games reveal 4 new Epic games. But I'll go back a couple days. Stranger Things takes over Smite this summer. That was something I saw. It's kind of late to the party for Stranger Things. I'm questioning whether we're gonna get a 4th season, or if they're gonna just be done with it because the actors are just aging rapidly. Let's see. What other things? Echoes of the End. Did we see anything about that? Dotemu and Leaker Studio announced Metal Slug Tactics. It's a better headline than what we saw before because I didn't get the name. See, new Pokemon trading card Sword and Shield Skies expansion info. Not interested in that. Well, I think this website might work. So it comes down to, do they have an RSS feed? And more importantly, do they have a Twitter following? They do have a Twitter.
I serve in hopes of a better
So
tomorrow.
I can start that way and follow them. They describe themselves as the latest news from the gaming world, from esports to mobile, indie to AAA with a dash of magic. We do try. And the UK news source is
A glimpse into the future
definitely
is
from a
only
different
the
perspective.
beginning.
We don't want to have too many news sources from one place. As far as RSS feeds, we may be out of luck on that one. Let's see. Nope, they do have a RSS feed. They just don't really promote it. So yeah, here's that article. Imagination in Epic Game brings home Hollywood production to brands. Let's see. As part of an Epic Mega Grant. And let's see. Might as well just start cleaning up the website as it stands. Just start to try and get rid of as much as possible. Sidebar inner. Sidebar. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Of course, I don't really have time to be messing with any of this. Get rid of that.
Well, this ain't ideal, is it?
Corpses come in every shade imaginable.
I am beyond
No!
prophecy.
I doubt it's very interesting to see me potentially get rid of a bunch of parts, set up uBlock Origin to
You're done for.
like
Are the tools of
get rid of all of this stuff, but
This is
it
my fate
actually,
after all.
to me, I think is valuable information to show off every time. Because it helps people learn something that definitely should be known if you're going to try and be a content producer of any sort. I can do that. Or try that. Get rid of all the footer. Get rid of the sub footer. Okay. Zoom in 1 to get rid of that. center here. Nope. Still got something we gotta find. Something that's pushing this to the far side.
Try calculations set. Ready to summon. This is how you cast.
Wow! Unbelievable!
This isn't your run-of-the-mill spell.
Alright, so here's a trick. Sometimes you have to zoom out to find the thing that is blocking. I bet that's what's going on here. Is that this banner is blocking. So this website also has a lot of copyrighted characters, so I have to kind of question if this website would last for a long time. Which that is another issue, certainly. So, yeah, I think we've still got something. Something somewhere. The problem, though, is sometimes it is just something's in the way. Something about the background. No, that won't work. For instance, that. There we go. And sometimes you just have to zoom. So that puts us in a weird position where the let's go ahead and attack here. Play a couple of games.
The uncharted desert awaits.
I shall give birth to a new world.
Cash?
Cast aside your tools and draw with your heart.
So yeah, this is a little bit of a problematic zoom. I would like to be able to bring this down a little bit like this and try and center something a little bit more. I think that wouldn't be too bad. So if I could maybe balance that out a little bit that way. Of course, balance that out that way. And bring out the zoom some more. Like if I could just block the background image. That's the one thing I'd like to get rid of, because this would work right now. There we go. So then bring that down. Bring it up. Bring that down. Bring that up. Bring that up. Probably want it at 100. Bring that down. Yeah, I think that's about as good as you're going to get. Something like that. Let's see. Oops. Forgot to play. And then, let's see. Let's get rid of these vertical stuff.
Adding flames to the fire.
I shall give
Sorry, I'm
birth
going
to a
quiet
new
here.
world.
Why did
It
that
won't be
all of
long
a sudden
now.
get to the background image? There we go. See what a reload of this looks like. Yeah, I almost have it perfect. Which this is too much work, frankly, to use as a news source. If I have to do this for a bunch of different websites, or if I find out I don't like a website, and that becomes part of the problem. Alright, well, if I'm gonna try and get rid of that, then I think we probably need to get rid of this, and then get rid of this, and then get rid of this because they have their articles. We need this tiny little bar Get rid of that. We may not be able to get rid of this left part of it, though. That's the problem.
The path ends here.
I wish you could whitelist things. That's the thing I really wish you could do is whitelist. Yeah, I don't know if I can fix this. Because it seems like it is going to go with that direction. Actually, that fixes it, doesn't it? So is there a way we can zoom out? No, you've got to be this zoomed in to get a different type of website. Alright, well, I guess that's as good as it's gonna get. But that still is a major improvement, I would say. Has a scroll bar. It's popping up over here. I don't know if I can click on scroll bars. Okay, well. Yeah, big waste of time. Let's cover the rest of the news and then call it a day. Here we'll show off. Here's what it looked like before. Hit the reload button. Here's what it looks like now. Rockapella headlines the music for Crime Adventure The Big Con. It's funny to think that Rockapella is still making music.
And I answer. A pointed sword deserves
That seems really
a pointed
weird.
response.
This looks like there's singing going on. They probably just played Rockapella to make the trailer. I bet they're not really in the game. Or if they are in the game, I bet they're not in the game for a significant soundtrack or anything like that. A new action roguelike Loot River announced. See what this looks like. While I end this turn. It's just going to be one of those videos where people just talk to a screen. You're on a platform, it looks like you control the platform. I think we've seen this before, where the platforms move and then you have to fight around that concept. Half Tetris, half like boss fighter. Might be something to that. See, NetEase is going to reveal 4 new Epic games. Let's see what they are. Or NetEase
Today is your lucky day,
did
my
reveal.
friend.
Let's see, Racing Master, Total Wars, Battles, Warhammer, The Lord of the Rings, Rise to War. Wonder if that's part of the Shadow of Mordor series. I bet it isn't. And Naraka Blade Point. I think we may have seen something about Naraka before, but that does look like a high action, like, game of some sort. Yeah, there might be something cool there. Actually, that looks really cool. Rise to War has no trailer. Total War Battles Warhammer. It's a Warhammer game. I shouldn't care about it. It looks not particularly interesting. And then Racing Master. See if we can see some footage of what the game actually looks like. And Codemasters, no, I don't think we're going to get that.
All to find a brighter future for everyone.
See, here we have Stranger Things taking over Smite. Let's see. Ooh, partial nudity for T14, interesting. In the Smite game, in particular. See, I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to try and keep the characters in the minds of the fandom this same age, and thus they stop making live action Stranger Things and instead try to have video game twists. Like, and then you have, let's see, Starcourt 11 versus a regular 11. So even in the game, you're seeing a very different depiction of 11 as a character. Which, yeah, there was enough break between me watching Stranger Things Season 1 and Season 2 that if 11 really had grown up as much as that seems to indicate she had, and had such a growth spurt, I didn't recognize it that much.
Don't give up. Don't give up.
Of course, there is that danger, certainly, that 11 and the main male protagonists are going to end up going out, sleeping with each other potentially in the next season as they're rapidly aging.
Coming. Hold on to your cards.
Let's see, we also have, I guess you call this Envision Community is going to be the name of the website. Echoes of the End is announced. Yep, we did see something here. They have a nicer thumbnail gallery system for sure. That is way nicer than what Gamatsu has. Now I will have to admit that I did make a mistake and take out a little too much content. So I'll want to come back and unblock some of the stuff I blocked. The accreditation in particular. There's no good reason not to accredit to the authors and know who the authors are at least.
Don't give up.
Eradicate all demons. burns.
Let's see. I also have a couple other news sources
Flash of metal, a silent night.
Let's settle this, you evil bloodsuckers.
that
The
I still have open.
ends here.
Hmm. Okay. So yeah, I don't think we'll do too much of a cleanup if we do any kind of a cleanup, because what I need to do is, I think Gaming Bolt is gone. We don't need to use them as a news source, because they were the ones before
world
Game
called,
Spew.
And I answered.
I bring unto you serenity.
I'm just scrolling down their Twitter feed right now just to check to see if they had brought any bit of information or useful thing. Hitman Season 3 Hitman 3 Season of the Sloth gets an announcement trailer. Well, that is something I don't think we talked about. Gaming Bolt was also doing game reviews, and that's just another thing that if I can find a news source that doesn't bother to review games, that would be easier for me, since I really have no desire to read reviews from video game journalists anymore. Yeah, otherwise though, there's nothing there, so here we can look at this article. Season of the Sloth begins next week, June 15th, and offers a new suit, SMG grenade, and the Sloth depletion. As far as a let's see. This looks like a very weird expansion for Hitman. It's part of the 7 Deadly Sins. I guess they are doing a special thing. I didn't hear anything about this, so people must not be particularly hyped up on that.
Who are you calling a lizard?
Let's see. We're looking at my main Twitter feed. PlayStation's Jim Ryan wants people to know he doesn't hate old games, which I think is a generous headline, to
No way!
considering as he pretty much said he hated old games, from what I've heard.
Swifter than prayer, sharper than grief.
Apparently the Game Boy Advance came out 20 years ago today, which that's certainly a great way to make people feel old. Let's see.
Corpses come in every shade imaginable.
Let's see.
I'm out of cash?
Still scrolling down my Twitter feeds. I'm trying to wrap up here, sort of. Yeah, I probably should just wrap up. Take the win and go. WB Games Montreal is hiring a programmer and a quality assurance programmer. Yeah, quality assurance programmer. It's written both in French and English, being Montreal based, so I'm having trouble reading it.
Quartzes come in every shade imaginable.
Double Fine is still trying to promote people to play Psychonauts, which would definitely feel weird if Psychonauts 3 doesn't come out like the day of an announcement during E3. There's a Gearbox E3 showcase on June 12th, which I wonder if that maybe means there's a lot more coming from Gearbox than what we think, and than what we've already heard, and they're getting Tiny Tina's Wonderlands out early because of that fact. That would be kind of crazy. But Embracer Group could be doing anything, who knows. Let's see this.
Such a good guinea pig.
I guess you do
Isn't
this.
your run-of-the-mill spell. Vice, virtue, avarice, tolerance.
Sleep.
Mortals shall learn to be benevolent.
Swifter than prayer, sharper than grief.
Who are you calling a lizard?
Sorry, I'm being quiet again. Just scrolling down, seeing not a lot of nothing, or a heck of a lot of nothing. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has clocked over 20 million players. Do that one. Do this one, I guess.
No way!
Do this. Evolve. I'm gonna lose anyways. Okay, because I can hit that and kill that, but I can't do anything with that. And that kills me. Yep. Still struggling with Shadowverse. Still not really getting easy victories. Guess we'll go ahead and work our way through the load screen again. Rune Factory 5 delayed to 2022 in the West. Guess that is worthwhile. Apparently, Bethesda is going to scrap the Fallout 76 Battle Royale mode, according to Gamma Sutra. I'll just read out some of these articles. Fallen Order for PS5 and Xbox Series X is out today. What did we get on the missions? According to Gamma Sutra, delisting Cyberpunk was in the interest of the PlayStation community, says Jim Ryan. Yep, I need like one ranked Runecraft victory, and then I could get like one Dragoncraft victory, and that would be the thing to go for today off screen. But I think I just want to kind of wrap up. I do occasionally talk about Lego since I'm still kind of obsessed with Lego. They came out with a Lego Ideas typewriter. The weird choice, certainly. I'm not sure in my mind I can justify building a Lego typewriter just to put on the shelf. On the other hand, I might be able to justify it very well because it is one of those shelf interesting models, and I have a lot of shelves of models of things, so there is certainly a thought to that. Let's see, what else? From the guys who played at the Fall Guys game, Ultimate Knockout, a game called Bro Falls Ultimate Showdown apparently has been announced, which is not the guys that worked on that game, just people who played that game. That's what I think the joke there is from Kimetsu, although Kimetsu tends not to play along with silly jokes like that either, so that's kind of shocking. Yeah, this game Bro Falls Ultimate Showdown here is the first game from this developer as a free-to-play early access English and Hungarian game. Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to play that and cover that anyway, so that's not a big issue for me. See, I'm still scrolling down Twitter feeds, different individual Twitter feeds. Yeah, I've realized I'm gonna have to take an extra hour at some point and also do the same thing for the Reddit RSS like subreddits I want to follow. That a combined feed does not work, and I guess the age of combined feeds are dead. Maybe it never worked. Alright, so now I'm back to Tech Raptor. I'm still holding on to Tech Raptor. Valheim Hearth and Home update delayed to the fall of 2021. Let's see. A Day of the Devs Double Fine and I Am 8-Bit event is going to happen. That's part of the Summer Games Fest of 2021. That was something retweeted from yesterday. A Indie Sims clone Afterlife looks pretty impressive, but see that's kind of a hype article, so I don't have to worry about that. Is there anything from... If I can get back through several days of posts from Tech Raptor and they don't have anything of interest, I think I'm going to pull the trigger and close Tech Raptor's tab and then be done with them. And then if that means I'm missing an occasional story, it's fine. Let's see. Xbox has published some tips and warnings for co-streamers and creators that are planning on streaming E3 2021 to avoid DMCA hits. They should just have that fixed anyways. There's a whole bunch of people that are not going to be able to follow those warnings or even know about them. That was one of the things at the Summer Games Fest, is that I believe it was Weezer got on stage and played, and they said, "Oh, you can co-stream this music," and I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if that stream still gets content ID'd. But yeah, also I don't really feel like co-streaming is the thing people should do or strive to. Like that is just basically talking over someone talking over something is too much. Unless you have a real informed opinion, which I don't think many people do. Even when Giant Bomb is co-streaming on these like events, they usually don't have anything really to say. Let's see. Tencent's PUBG Mobile Studio has announced a shift in policy, reducing mandatory overtime as part of its growing global fight against crunch culture. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I definitely have worked jobs with mandatory overtime. It is not fun. It's in fact basically an assault on your health and happiness. It's a mental, if not physical, assault on your employees. Let's see. Down to June 9th. Yeah, I think that's good enough. We can close Tech Raptor for that. Like, this is really the only article that even caught my attention. Indie Sims clone Afterlife looks pretty impressive. Better graphic Sims game. Altered Life, not Afterlife. It would be nice if the Sims games had better graphics, but I think the gameplay issue is still the issue. Although this is going in the right direction, the idea that you could really decorate your own house, like, because that's something that I think a lot of people would like, is, can I decorate or design what I'm looking for in an easy to use software, or would it become a huge hassle? Let's see. It's being published by Playway, the same people that published House Flipper, although that doesn't really mean anything. They worked on PewDiePie's Tuber Simulator. No release date has come out yet. Well, if that comes out, that would be something worth looking at. Alright, well, I'm going to call it a stream. Like, we've gone 3 hours and 40 minutes. That's more than enough. So, as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.